Hello, everybody. My name is Steven Maisko. I imagine most of you guys already know me, as most of my Facebook friends will be seeing this at first, but if you do stumble across this, I'm a 25-year-old engineer from the Chicagoland area. In the last year of my life, I've been listening to a lot of podcasts, and if anyone knows me, they know that I like to talk a lot, really about anything. So, it's 2018, I figured, why not start my own podcast? So, I'm pleased to introduce to you my platform for my new podcast called Cars, Life, and Everything in Between. There's going to be three types of episodes. The first type of episodes are going to be about cars. I've been passionate about cars and motorcycles my entire life, and I love sharing my passion with people. So, with this type of episode, I'm going to be talking about the automotive industry, how it's going to be affecting our lives in the future, and just talk about cars. As you know, every single day we have to travel in these big boxes with wheels, so it all does affect our lives, and I want to share with you what is going on with that industry. The second type of episodes are going to be called life episodes. This is going to be more of a relaxed type of setting with me, my friends, and really whoever wants to come on. Just kind of shoot the shit, sit back, have a drink, talk about the internet or anything that's going on in society, have some laughs, and hopefully to all the viewers out there listening and watching, laugh along with us. The third type of episodes are going to be called In Between. So, what's in between cars and life? Well, everything that we do every single day for this world. There are so many professions and career paths and hobbies and things that we all do for this world. Unfortunately, we cannot do all of them with our short time on this planet. So, I want to give you guys a chance and give you a platform to share what it is you guys do for the world. So come on, talk about what you do. I want to learn about what you guys do, but more importantly, I want everyone out there to learn about what it is we all do for this world. So, I'm very excited to share this experience, and this is going to be something new, something fun to do. So, you know, comment below if there's any way that, I can do this better or any suggestions you have. This first episode is going to be kind of a cars episode with my co-host and kind of someone who helped me create this podcast, my best friend Matthew Zafe. So we're kind of testing the equipment, testing the waters, talking about stuff, and just seeing how everything works. So please join us for this and watch, and I hope you guys all enjoy my first episode of Cars, Life, and Everything in Between. Um, I think we're on.
Hey
We're live.
now,
Yeah. Matthew, what's up?
Steven, how are you?
I'm doing good. So this is our first podcast of Cars, Life, and Everything in Between. So
The premiere.
the premiere. So this is kind of a little, as I said, a little introductory episode. I think today we're going to kind of focus on cars, something that we are very passionate about here and
That's
always
right.
have been since, seventh grade? When we first met, sixth grade.
Yeah.
Sixth or
It
seventh
all
grade.
started with Need for Speed Underground.
Need for Speed, and I remember meeting you, and you were the only kid that knew what a Ferrari Enzo was back when we were like 11?
Yeah, it's funny. I ask everybody that question
12?
now.
Yeah. What's a Ferrari Enzo? That's how you know.
Nice to meet you.
Do you know what that is? Yeah. So with our cars episode, we're kind of be talking about recent news, stuff that's going on, things in the car world, and see where it's all going, and kind of talk about it just like we always do on Xbox Live and riff and keep going.
See where the conversation goes.
You found an article. I didn't even know about it.
Yeah, so Domino's Pizza, everybody's favorite delivery pizza company, is currently fixing potholes because apparently they're ruining pizza. I didn't realize the severity of this problem, but I guess there's a huge issue with Domino's and having pizzas that are out for delivery getting jostled within their precious containers, messing up the integrity of the pizza. So Domino's took it upon itself, and what they're doing is they're actually going around to various cities and they're plugging up potholes. And it's a whole campaign. They have branded dump trucks filling out, asphalt, and it seems like they've already filled tons of potholes in Texas, parts of Delaware, and they've done like over 140 of them in Georgia. So I'm all for that. Any privatized company that's willing to come in and throw down some asphalt, and they're actually sticking their logo on the asphalt, which is kind of a funny marketing thing for them. And if it makes the cities smoother, I'm all for it.
All I know is Chicago would have Domino's graffiti on every street, would just have domino symbols down the entire row.
Yep.
And
They would own the city.
I don't know if I would buy more Domino's, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
Would
you
you-
got to
I-
wonder how long that spray paint that is going to stick on there. That could be good for one season, and then it's gone.
I mean, yeah, I guess. Yeah, and people are just going to forget about that, too. I guess that spray paint would come on and be like, oh, well, they're fixed. But I guess if a company, let's say Lyft or Uber, started doing that,
Okay.
would you? Look at Lyft. They started spray painting things. Or, I don't know, what ideas, like, I'm just trying to think how, if I was running a business and wanted more.
Well, as long as Lyft is not taking funds out of, fair payment for their drivers and everything, and if they have the money to allocate towards fixing roads just for the hell of it, then I'm all for it.
Yeah.
The roads need fixing. That's the bottom line is, Chicago's made some progress. My street right here has been paved in the last couple of weeks. But, I mean, you go anywhere in the city, there's a reason I wouldn't drive my car downtown. It's because it was a nightmare for me. I have a lot of post-traumatic stress from driving down.
Well, that's because you were living the low life.
I chose the static low life, and, it has its ups and its downs.
Yeah.
Driving on anything but, like, Michigan Avenue or Lakeshore is a huge risk.
I guess if Lyft, I like Lyft more than Uber. Sorry.
So, yeah, I deleted Uber a while ago.
Yeah, the drivers just aren't as happy. I
wouldn't say I found that.
I always find with Lyft drivers, they're always much nicer. And I don't know. They had a little glowy thingy, which is really cool.
Well, for a long time, it was only
cute.
Lyft that you were able to tip from the app, and so I feel like Uber drivers kind of had this like unexpected.
Can you Lyft an Uber? Or can you tip in the Uber app?
Well, yeah. I mean, they've totally tried to rebrand themselves. They just took on a new CEO. They were making waves about having this new guy who's coming in, and we're gonna make a new Uber and
Didn't that guy go nuts and like
their old CEO?
Yeah,
did, yeah.
I remember seeing a video of
video of him completely like
car.
wrecking that driver that was just asking him for like fair wages, basically.
Damn.
And it's about the amount of money that they take from
the
each
driver
ride.
knew who he was or something.
100%.
Yeah, and the guy, he was like, he just made a comment. The Lyft or Uber CEO just went ham.
Mm-hmm. I have found though a lot of Lyft drivers I get in are both Uber and Lyft, but they say they predominantly take more rides from Lyft because they get
paid
comfortable
more
with it.
and the tips. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I just like Lyft more.
Yeah. So
I've
Lyft, give me more free rides. I actually had a funny event with Lyft on the way to the auto show back in February. I had just gotten in my car with Casey, my girlfriend, and we were about a half mile down the road on Wabash, and the guy gets a flat tire, and this gentleman had absolutely no idea what to do in the situation. He basically drove on the flat tire for a little longer than he should have and pulled into a parking lot and basically had no idea what to do. And I wasn't just going to leave this guy there, so I proceeded to look up on Google how to find the floor jack in a 2008 Ford Escape because I searched forever and I couldn't find it, and then I had to lower the tire down as a whole thing. So I was with this guy for about an hour and 45 minutes while I was at that time supposed to be at the auto show enjoying myself. But long story short is the guy must have passed on that I helped him out, and Lyft gave me probably about $100 in ride discounts for a solid couple months. So
I did not know that.
Oh yeah, they gave me a nice notification saying what goes around comes around. Not like that, but we respect what you did for this driver. You didn't have to do that. And so off of every Lyft I had for months after that, it was giving me huge discounts. So rides that normally cost $15, I was taking for $250. It was very nice.
Oh wow!
So,
I didn't know that.
Big ups to Lyft for the customer service.
All right, Lyft, man. And Lyft, start. Let's do what Domino's did. Start fixing our streets, and I think people will start.
Yeah,
taking
to
you
spray
even
paint
more.
them pink.
Dude, that would take out Uber. Just if you. But I don't know, pink potholes, pink asphalt probably wouldn't be the best for the street.
All right, a small pink mustache, just like a little stencil, because that used to be their thing. They strode away from the mustache, but that was their original marketing.
There we go. So Domino's, good job. Maybe I'll buy your fake bread fluffy pizza.
Lyft, step it up. We want to see some mustache potholes filled around Chicago ASAP.
Boom. Done. All right, that'd be a good idea.
Mm-hmm. So I saw something else. I was looking into this deal that GM had with Lyft. Speaking of Lyft, back in 2016, GM invested about $500 million to kind of co-develop basically their own new autonomous ride-sharing platform. They had this whole vision of developing new models that are completely autonomous that would just be fleet vehicles essentially for Lyft. And the agreement also included that GM would provide more cars for some of their drivers and whatnot. But it seems like there's some tumult going on in that deal because it looks like the GM president stepped down from Lyft's board, and now a former telecom executive from HP is filling in for them. So I don't know if that means that GM is done with this deal, but I mean, $500 million is a serious investment to kind of fall back on, especially with only in about 2 years.
Yeah.
So that's fascinating to me.
Yeah, and I thought Ford had something with Lyft, but maybe not. Maybe Ford and Uber had one of the other big American companies had something with Uber. I don't know. The future of autonomous vehicles. I'm all for it.
Just don't take away my steering wheel.
Here's the thing.
I want my steering wheel.
I love driving. I love riding my motorcycle. But as we've talked before, if you could eliminate traffic deaths, how many traffic deaths are there a year? Look that up. I know it's like they I remember reading articles saying that maybe like 90%, 95% of accidents would be eliminated, and eventually near 100%. So it's like 30,000, 40,000 deaths a year or something like that. Traffic vehicle accidents, deaths a year.
In 2010, there was about 30,000.
30,000. So if you can bring that number down to less than 1,000, I mean, that's a lot of people. Deaths. That's a lot of people, a lot of deaths.
And just to speak from a selfish perspective, but just eliminating traffic in general would do wonders for my mental health. Let's be honest here. Few things enrage me quite like being stuck on 94.
And coming down here on 94, every time, at least the last couple times, there's always an accident. There's always something dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Well, also, just think about, a lot of people don't realize, what does your car do 80% of its lifetime?
Idle.
Sit. Parking, overnight, in your house, driveway, you drive to work, it sits there. So I remember reading Ford, GM, and I'm sure GM's working with Lyft and their programs, how they use their GPS, their tracking traffic and everything. I think the future would be buying, and I was reading this, and this seems to be maybe in the next 30 years we'd see this, like, go all out, buying into Ford, buying into GM. So only GM cars pick you up, or buying into Mercedes, buying into BMW, buying into Audi. So all the Audi cars that are driving around, all the BMW, the Fords, whatever, they would be the ones picking you up. So you'd be buying into a company's program, and so imagine 80% of the cars.
So you're saying as a consumer, I would buy into the Audi ride-sharing service.
Correct.
I'm an Audi guy. I want to be with only
you like
S6s.
Audi. You love Audi.
Yeah.
But then think about how that's going to change cars completely as well. As in, the steering wheel really won't matter anymore. So then you'll have more space potentially for occupants.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can get in those those Minority Report movies and stuff where the chairs turn around, and then you're all just sitting there looking at each other. I don't know.
And you're all just staring at each other on a long road trip. That really means you got to work on the conversation.
Then what about ride shares? If you like.
Well,
I guess
personally,
the chair could turn around.
Yeah. I mean, I never get into a ride-sharing car with other people. For me, that's personally not something I do. I like.
It's always $2. It's like $2 more, and it'll take you to where you
just
need
let
to
me
go.
sit in silence.
Sit
Worth
there,
it to me.
Chill out.
Yeah.
Maybe you wouldn't have a dude that's like, "Yo, how's your day?" Like, it's good, dude. Oh, cool. I just moved here. You're just like, okay.
Oh god.
It's 6 a.m., my friend. No. So I think the future of cars, buying into a company, buying into a platform or a company so that only they pick you up. I think I would give up some of my rights with driving, actually all of it, if you could eliminate traffic deaths. Traffic itself would go down since you don't have cars changing lane. Every single car is communicating with each other. They know where they're going. They know when to change lanes.
So does this involve some sort of mass exodus of non-autonomous vehicles? Is that going to be the death of the steering wheel and the gas pedal?
I don't. So yeah, what do you do with everyone that loves collecting their 50s Chevelles and Pontiac GTOs and everything? I don't know. I mean, if it's in 30 years, then the cars of today, well, they're probably just going to be falling apart. But I don't know.
I think that's not something they can necessarily do. I think people are going to hold on to that as a liberty.
If they enacted a law to do it,
well, they certainly could do it.
They could.
There's nothing in the Constitution that says everyone has the right to drive cars with a steering wheel. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, yeah. I don't know. I'm fine with if they can get it down to the point where traffic. When you go on 94 and there's 5 miles of backup and everyone's stopping and going, changing lanes, and it's annoying as crap. Mm-hmm. If you would just all flow at 15 miles an hour, cars would just change lanes nicely. Everyone would communicate with each other. You'd get to where you need to be. Your hour commute would only be 40 minutes or 35 minutes. I think I'm all for that.
We're not even going to have to worry about that because Elon Musk is going to be drilling tunnels underneath every city he can get his hands on.
Yeah.
That
We need more Elon Musk. We need more tunnels.
Well, I don't know. I'll have to look into it. But I remember at one point Elon was one out of two companies that was getting bid to build a tunnel from O'Hare to the city to basically circumvent the Blue Line.
Yeah.
Which would be amazing if we could get from downtown to the airport in like 5 minutes or however long that would take.
Yeah, I mean, that would be definitely something. I remember seeing the plans for in LA where they started drilling. They had that train from from San Francisco to.
Are you talking about the Hyperloop?
The
or
Hyperloop.
The Boring Company.
Hyperloop.
Yeah, so the Hyperloop
Well,
I'm not very well versed on.
I've just looked into it. I don't know how they could make that feasibly, profitable, and how many people are going to ride that. How many trains per tunnel? Because going is 200 miles an hour at the Hyperloop. Could they do that here?
I think they were saying higher than that. Weren't they saying 500
yeah,
miles
maybe.
an hour? Or something
I don't know.
absurd?
I have a feeling that. I mean, look at just the L here and how janky that is. The upkeep on keeping that, and then you'd have to have. I mean, I looked into this too. You'd have to have air pressure,
the whole
vacuums.
thing has to be vacuum sealed.
Yeah. Do you know how many pipe?
How
a
would
pipe
that
in your
be
house
affected
leaks.
by an earthquake?
Everything leaks in the street. You're gonna be able to make a vacuum sealed cement tube going 300 miles perfectly. I don't know. That sounds a little.
If there's anybody I'm willing to put a little trust in, it's Mr. Elon.
The young Elon.
I think he can pull it off. Yeah, they were saying 700 miles an hour was going to be the estimated speed for the Hyperloop, which is absurd to me. But I'm all for it if they can make it happen.
The speed of sound.
And his Boring Company, which was originally going to be just like underground highways, they ditched that, and now it's going to be those sleds that you drive in on.
Yeah.
Which is also pretty cool. And I heard on Rogan they were saying, well, what happens if there's an earthquake and you're in that tunnel? Well, apparently, according to Mr. Musk, a tunnel is one of the safest places to be. Once you reach a certain point underground, you're pretty much golden, according to them.
I don't believe that. I'm okay with being above ground while everything's moving underneath me. I don't want to be in a massive tunnel that's vacuum sealed and just. Mm-hmm. Oh man, if the train just, I don't know, man. Yeah. It'll be interesting. So autonomy in the future, I think, is the future. It's the future. It's gonna happen. Volvo has already pledged by 2020 to have their XC90 series.
Well, I mean, without even just being fully electric, because I feel like we're gonna be there before we're all fully autonomous. Even
fully electric.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like internal combustion is gonna be out before all cars are autonomous. I think. Mm-hmm. Because I mean, Infiniti just announced last year, year before, that they're gonna be fully autonomous or fully electric by 2022 or 2020 or something very near the future. And that's very funny to me because they just spent about nearly 20 years and hundreds of millions of dollars developing their variable compression turbo motor. They bought that technology from Volvo in the early 90s, and they just debuted it last year in the QX50.
And Mazda just created their new
Skyactiv technology. And so
the Skyactiv engine that takes away spark plugs, it's compression, pure compression.
So are these just the final hurrahs of internal combustion? Is this the guy that developed the last super efficient steam engine was you guys, look at my tech. And everyone's
did.
Sorry, bud, we're all over here now. I mean, you can keep playing with your steam, but we're all dealing with, internal combustion.
I think okay, internal combustion still has a part. I mean, the oil companies own this world. I mean, think about what the oil company has done, making cheap oil accessible to everyone. It built our entire cities. Mm-hmm. Our entire society is built off of roads, where roads go, where we can get to, our towns, how close towns are together, all built off roads and the car. And I don't think the oil companies are going to let that go. There's so much infrastructure in oil, hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars in all of the oil industry, just in infrastructure alone, and liquid assets and pure plants, oil rigs. They're not going to let that go. So I think oil is going to be here for a very long time, for another easily 30, 40 years. I don't think oil.
That's not a very long time.
I know that we have oil for the next 100 years. That's what I've read. That we found so many reserves, more up north in Alaska, Arctic. There's drilling in the Arctic now. There's a lot more down there. So for sure, we have oil for the next 100 years. We're not in a shortage. So I don't think oil is going to go away. I think electric. I mean, if we can make engines like the Skyactiv, the variable compression engine from Infiniti, having 60, 70 miles per gallon,
Free valve technology from Koenigsegg.
yeah, it's. I think we do have a future in that. I don't know. Maybe it'll just be like the
But
the
it's
horse.
tough to say when electric is just like so obviously superior. And it part of me, it really
Instant,
hurts
yeah.
to say that, but just from like almost every way, the only thing is the visceral experience, the lack of sound and the lack of changes. I mean, as weird as it sounds to say, when your car lets off in between gear shifts, that little lag in power within a power band, that adds to the visceral experience. And when you floor a Tesla, it's just go.
It's one
And
speed go.
and it's something a little bit less enjoyable about that.
Yeah, and I mean, we can make gearboxes for electric motors because motors can only go up to a certain amount of RPM.
Mhm.
But I think the electric and gasoline are going to have to coincide for a while.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe everybody will just make better hybrids, But I just see electric coming in more and more and encroaching, and eventually it's going to get pushed out.
And people also say, the horse and buggy, when that was going away, people were like, what coach builders are going to be out of business, blah, 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 and everything. Honestly, I mean, the electric car will probably save the gasoline engine for racing or, for airplane travel.
Yeah, we're not
fuel
making electric
for-
turbines right now for your 747s at the moment, as far as I know.
I'm sure it's that GE and Rolls-Royce are looking into the future of that. I know they're looking into the future of that, but also battery technology isn't there yet. But in the next couple decades, we'll have batteries that can last thousands of miles. In
But yeah,
cars.
the whole argument of the fear of ruining one part of an economy, not even ruining it, but having an impact on one industry. That's just how we grow as an entire civilization.
Yep.
I mean, look at any technology. I mean, you went from steam power and so on to where we are today, and it only makes sense to make the next leap and bound towards electric or towards whatever it's going to be that we can grow an industry. And I mean, the amount of jobs that will be in renewable energy is amazing. And like a lot of people are saying, if we don't jump on that as a country and really invest into that, China's gonna they're more than happy to take over that. They're
taking
investing
over.
more money.
They already are.
Yeah, they're already investing way more money into science and into renewable energy sources than we are. And I mean, just the fact that we're out of the Paris Climate Agreement. I mean, it just kind of it's kind of crazy how a lot of people in this country don't see that as a very fruitful endeavor.
It's because climate change is bullshit. It's just the liberal media pushing their agenda. But I don't know.
Read a freaking book. That's all I gotta say.
Well, I think autonomy is the future.
Certainly.
I accept it, even though I'm going to take away driving motorcycles.
As long as it's like
with motorcycles. That's for me. I'm a motorcycle guy too. So I don't know what.
that's like expendable at that point. If you're looking at autonomy, like, well, that's not efficient. We can't fit more than one person on that. As long as it's like iRobot, where I can press a button and then a steering wheel will unfold from my Audi RSQ, and then I can drive like that, I'm cool. As long as there's because there's something about giving up 100% of your safety to a computer that is a little disconcerting to me. Something about it, me having my own a possibility of taking over control.
Which BMW's 8 Series prototype just crashed, and I know I read that they're putting autonomy into that as well. It crashed in Germany. It killed a test driver or someone.
The passenger.
I don't know word yet is if that came out, if it was in an autonomous mode at all. And then the Uber XC90. So yeah, if someone does die, there is kind of a more comfort where it's like it was a human behind it, not a machine. I don't know.
And then you have all the ethical dilemmas,
Well, it is okay. I just don't understand. I don't understand how people, when they see like Uber, the car didn't see that person walking. Remember that was like a month or two ago.
That one was a little sticky because that was like in the middle
of the
dark.
night, in the dark, in the night. That person walked out in front of the car.
Yeah.
But could a person have reacted faster or seen it or been looking up? The person in the car was just texting. They weren't even paying attention at all.
But honestly, though, in the video, the second that person is visible, as at least from my eyes in the video, I don't think reaction time from a person would have made a single bit of difference.
But I know also in San Francisco or somewhere else, another Uber Volvo XC90 crashed as well. It flipped over. Something crazy happened. and we look at that, we're like, robot was driving? That's it, we're done. We can't do it. No, that's stupid. It's like,
But then look at the
every single day, hundreds of people die from our own stupid mistakes, texting, putting on makeup, eating food,
Drunk driving.
fucking drunk driving, or just simply some weird error, some mistake.
Right.
And 2 or 3 or 4 cars have crashed. A couple Teslas on autonomous mode have crashed and killed people. So we have 5 or 6, 7, maybe a dozen. Let's just give it a dozen people have died in the last few years from autonomy. A dozen people die every almost hour or like a couple hours from auto crashes. So I don't understand why people are so fucking scared of robots and driving our cars.
It's
Because it's us. We're on the road with them. If everyone was autonomous and communicating, we'd be fine.
if every car had the ability to talk to each other.
Yeah, and then traffic lights. There's a million articles. Anyone could go out there and read. Traffic lights will have like signals, Wi-Fi signals, everything. Every car will communicating with each other.
Yeah, if the city's set up in a grid where all the cars are talking to the city and vice versa, you have a much better opportunity for free flow and efficient travel.
I have a bet with my cousin right now.
What's that?
$350 on the table.
Juicy.
That within 30 years, the laws are going to be changed for humans not to be driving. I bet him $350. That I bet that we will not be allowed to drive. And he said, no, it's going to take much longer. I was like, I don't know. 10 years ago, we didn't have smartphones in our pockets. Mm-hmm. And now we have the entire, we have everything in our hands. And we're eventually going to give our hands away to our cars. I think within 30 years, the laws are going to change.
I don't know if the laws would necessarily change within 35 years. Do you really think that?
100%. Well, then what would stop someone from being like, fuck it, I'm getting my motorcycle and going on the road with all these autonomous vehicles?
So what's wrong with that? Just avoid the autonomous vehicles.
But that's the problem. That's the issue. I'm not communicating with those autonomous vehicles.
Sure, but I'm sure they'll be covered in LiDAR and sonar and all sorts of sensors and cameras.
I guarantee you, 30 years.
All right.
We're not gonna
I might have to get in on this bet, dude. 30 years?
Will I have $700 in 30 years? Also, what's $700 going to be worth in 30
years?
Oh,
man, you should just invest that now. Screw
just
it. What's the next Bitcoin?
Yeah. What would $350 be in 30 years? I don't know. Maybe I can just buy you an ice cream with it. Huge inflation.
All right. Well, buy me an ice cream in 30 years if there are not those laws. Okay.
What kind of ice cream we're talking?
Something fancy.
Something fancy. Pistachio, something.
Yeah.
Something.
Maybe a sundae of some sort.
Okay. All right. It's better than $350. All right.
So we have a segment that we're going to be doing on this show where either of us pulls up 2 different cars that are comparable in both year and somewhat comparable in mileage, but have very similar price tags. And the goal of this is to present something that would be kind of a difficult decision for either of us to make. So for this week, I have 2 cars in mind. The first one is it's basically which would you rather take?
I'm going to have to figure out how to do Adobe Premiere to put these
side by side. So imagine you're seeing both of these right now.
By the way, in case any editing gets messed up, this is our first go. We don't really know what's going on.
No idea.
I don't know. There's a lot of buttons on the switchboard. We've messed with them. They all sound kind of similar. Lows, highs, mids, gain. I don't know what's going on. Then I have this program running. We'll see how it goes, but
we'll persevere.
What's the first car?
First car, we're talking a certified, so keep that in mind. Ooh. 2015 Porsche Cayman GTS. This is a beautiful example with Carmine red exterior with a black interior with red accents. This car has 2,594 miles on the clock and is for sale for $75,980 American.
I am a Porsche guy.
So that is a very desirable car.
I like Porsches.
Well, we'll see if I can already see something's wrong with the listing on my second car, but I'm going to avoid that. The second car is a 2014 Nissan GTR Black Edition. So a little bit different. This is going to be a front engine twin turbo V6 all-wheel drive car. But this being the Black Edition, you do get the forged raised wheels. This is also a pretty good example of a car. This one is a little bit more miles. We're talking 14,000. It is a 2014 car, so that's pretty good for respectable amount of miles for the age of the vehicle. This one is at $75,000 on the dot. So, Mr. Maisko, if it was up to you, we have a silver Black Edition GTR or a red GTS Cayman. Which is it going to be?
They're different cars. They're very different.
All-wheel
drive.
And this
Twin
is going to be
turbo,
the only car,
V6.
daily
They're
driver.
Both, well, one's a flat six.
Yeah.
Was it 2015 Porsche? They didn't go turbocharged yet, right?
No.
No. Those are like 3.2 flat six or 3.4s or something like that. Oh, man. You know, I love Porsche. I really want one. I've even been looking at used Caymans, like 07, 08 Caymans for a personal car in the next like year of my life. I love Caymans. But all-wheel drive, launch control. The GTR, everyone makes if you're a car person out there, the GTR is kind of, I wouldn't say it's just an old car. It's old news kind of. There's cooler cars out there, but the GTR is still awesome in my heart. I love that car.
Yeah, there's such a weird. It's hip to hate on the GTR.
and
The
it's so-
GTR is the Nickelback of supercars now.
Yes.
Back then it was the underdog. Everybody was like, "This is the coolest car. It's $80,000. You get so many horsepower."
And
blah,
it
blah, blah.
takes down Lamborghinis and Ferraris on the track. It was annihilating every car.
But that was 10 years ago.
10 years ago. True. I mean,
The car has changed very little in that amount of time. Given the transmission has gotten better, they've changed some of the stuff with the diffs, suspension's gotten better.
I mean,
Interior a little.
I love
tiny
how
bit
big
better.
and it's everyone knows too. A lot of people are just like, oh, what is that? It's like a big, huge vehicle. I would take the GTR.
This is one thing though I didn't add though originally. This is a non-PDK equipped Cayman, so this is a manual transmission Cayman.
I mean-
Does that make your decision any different?
Nah.
All right.
I mean, we've both driven PDK Porsches.
Mm-hmm.
I don't knock anyone for getting a PDK. or
No,
a-
but I'm saying this one is a
Yeah.
manual.
Oh, I mean, that's fine. I enjoy that too.
Okay.
I would go with the GTR still. I think
right.
all-wheel drive, launch control, it's savage.
Mm-hmm.
Which do you think would be more comfortable? Actually, they'd both be kind of harsh on the road. Probably the Porsche might
Yeah.
be more comfy. In this
I'm not
case.
sure how the dampers are configured on the black or the black edition GTR. I'm sure it's probably stiffer.
I would still take the GTR. I just that car's just savage. That's my answer.
Cool.
I guess.
All right. Well, since you gave your answer, I think I would go with the GTS personally. Just knowing that we have a manual transmission, naturally aspirated, just purity of the Porsche, and I think this car will maintain value a lot better than the GTR. And that's not my main reason for making that decision, but I just think as a car to own for a long period of time, I feel like I would get less sick of the Cayman GTS with its visceral and very connected driver experience than I would with the disconnected GTR.
I agree.
After maybe 4 years, I might get sick of it. Who knows?
Yeah.
You know, I supercharged my Infiniti to basically more horsepower than the original GTR was making. And, I mean, I got used to it. I mean, it was insane when I first did it. But after, 6 months, I was very comfortable with it. And it wasn't as special as it was. And I feel like if it was a manual rear-wheel drive at the time, I'm comparing a G37 XS to a GTR, but kind of within the similar breed as far as all-wheel drive automatic car. Something about the rear-wheel drive manual seems appealing to me in more of a long-term investment kind of sense.
And a manual is manuals just seem faster, even if they aren't. Like when you drive like
They almost always are not. But
Civic, like a BRZ or a Civic Si.
especially with a Honda transmission, you can just slam those babies.
And I recently, my friend, she let me drive her SI, and
SI.
She has a 2018, and even though it's not that fast, it's fast, it's fun. The turbo's
fast
fun.
is not the right word for it.
It's
quick-ish.
not quick. It's swift.
It's
it
got
is-
VTOC.
It's VTOC. It's swift. But when you're rowing the gears, it feels much quicker. And it's just
It's all about that man-machine connection.
yes, that's what I like.
Certainly.
So yeah, no, I would go the GTR. I mean, when you put it that way, I bet within 2 years, I'd be like, I kind of wish I got the Cayman, but
Because the Cayman, I mean, all you got to do is just like throw an open exhaust on that thing. You're
yeah,
good.
but a GTR you can just chip and
Yeah, I know.
And
Not to
you
knock the
would- yeah.
GTR, but I would have that thing straight over to AMS in Chicago. And
Yeah.
maybe I'd start with little Alpha 7 stock turbos, keep it subdued, and then after a year or two of ownership, I'd bump that thing up to like an Alpha 10.
that is a car that I would tune until I break and then go.
Now I need to buy a $12,000 transmission.
Yeah. So I either way, I picked the GTR. I guess I'll stick with it. I'll stick
All
with
right.
my guns. I'm a man of my word.
Hey, I respect you for that.
Yeah.
You didn't fall back in your decision, so that's cool.
There we go. Yeah, that's what I was.
So yeah, that's our little car comparison segment.
Yeah. So I mean I did not look up a car. This was a segment that I thought about kind of before this. I'm like, yo, dude, let's do this. he looked it up. I was messing with audio and figuring out how all this works. But we'll have more. We'll have more segments. We'll come up with more stuff.
We'll be more prepared next time.
Be more prepared. And then, you know, and this weekend, I'm very excited. Le Mans is this weekend.
24 hours, baby.
Which you're going to be missing.
Well, I will be toes deep in the sand in Cancun.
Yeah.
Probably sipping on some rum and pineapple if everything's right.
And I will just be drinking water and watching Le Mans. So, and for anyone who doesn't know what Le Mans is, the 24-hour Le Mans is a racing series. Now it's kind of known as WEC. There's a lot of different series, but Le Mans is a racing series where you have multi-class racing. So you'll have, you know, your typical
GTLM.
Now it's, you know, GTLM, GTC, PU2, and LMP2 and LMP1. So LMP1 and LMP2 are complete prototype cars. They look like crazy race cars with wings. They don't look like street cars at all. But then your LMP or LMGT and your GTC, those are Porsches, Ferraris, Aston Martins, Audi R8s, things that you would see on the road, sports cars, but they are tuned and souped up and they're full-fledged race cars at that point. The LMP2 and LMP1s are quicker than the GTC cars. So it kind of, you know, adds an extra element of fast cars and slow cars at the track at the same time. So each class is racing for their own win in their respective classes. Mm-hmm. So LMP1s, you know, they'll be racing each other toe to toe, but they'll have to dodge, you know, Porsches and Ferraris and be going past them. You can have passing tactics where you try to get to a corner before the other car. So you'll get in front of the Ferrari if you're in the crazy LMP1 car, and then your competitor behind you got stuck behind when you get to the corner, so you can get some distance on them. So it adds a lot more element, a lot more difficult elements. It's a little more complicated to follow as well. Whereas NASCAR,
well, when there's like about 60 plus cars in the track at one time,
60 cars, 20 cars in each class ish, and yeah, it's not like NASCAR where it's whoever crosses the line first, that's it.
Right.
It's a lot more complicated.
There's a lot of team strategy involved.
Team strategy, pits, you know.
Shout out to Team Jost, my favorite, or Team Yost, however you want to pronounce it.
I think it's Jost.
Jost.
I don't know. Well, that's Audi. Audi's gone. So this
technically
year,
Jost is they're all on deck with Mazda these days. Do you know that?
No,
so Jost runs those prototype Mazdas that run during the WeatherTech Sports Car Challenge, all those.
Yes.
So they're the ones that are competing with like the Cadillac DPIs and the Acura prototype cars that are racing these days.
So Wolfgang Ulrich is he still?
I don't know if Wolfgang is involved.
Wolfgang.
If I was him, I would have retired on top.
He is the most boss. There's an old boss at Audi racing. Audi has won last 20 years. 20 years they've won 13 or 14 or crazy amount of titles. They basically dominate Le Mans. 24 hours of Le Mans. And there's their team leader Wolfgang Ulrich, just stone of a man. He's just very
So he stepped down from Audi Motorsport in 2016, which is basically when they were done with Le Mans.
So okay. Well, so this year Toyota is the only massive team in LMP1 really. There's a lot of other ones out there from Rebellion and other car companies though.
Ligier.
Though, I don't really. That's the thing with Le Mans. I don't care too much anymore. Like I care about it, I follow it, but WEC and GT racing is a lot more interesting now. Seeing because now you can get behind like Audi or Porsche, like your favorite brands. Whereas these like weird companies that are making LMP1 cars. So Toyota's the only big name in there. They're going to win. They're slated to win Le Mans. They've been so fast. Last year was an incredible race, over 24 hours. The last 2 minutes of the race, the Toyota broke down, and then the Porsche ended up taking the win, which was very sad. I was rooting for Toyota. I've always loved Toyota. I'm a Toyota fan. So
I will admit they definitely deserved that one. That was pretty heartbreaking.
They completely deserved it. They lost. That was sad. But and now I just read Car and Driver just put out an article that they are going to be bringing hypercars into racing series in the next couple years. So this is like an argument Zafe and I have always had with each other is we want to see the McLaren P1s, Ferrari, LaFerrari, Porsche,
Aston
Vulcan,
Martin, Valkyrie. I know
Senna.
Toyota was present there. So was Lamborghini.
Yeah. So and for people who don't know, the McLaren P1, maybe we'll throw up some pictures, or the LaFerrari.
It might have even been the Senna.
It was the Senna. They were talking about the Senna. So going forward, the hypercar series that each manufacturer is going to make, they want to make a series out of this. So this is going to be interesting. So, back in the 90s, you had Porsche, you had the McLaren F1, Nissan had the R390. They road-going cars, homologation cars, for the road. Now, Senna, the P1, hopefully the biggest names in all of motorsports with their $1 million cars. Because the issue right now with these $1 million, $2 million cars, Koenigseggs, Paganis, they just sit in garages.
Or they are featured like McLaren has their privateer racing, not even privateer, their customer exclusive racing series where people can take their McLarens on track to various events around. There's also right now, like McLaren is really big in their 570 GT4 cars.
Yeah.
So GT4 is a series that a lot of people are trying to like bring more attention to, which is cool because you get, there's Mercedes AMG GT, GT4 cars. There's a couple R8s that run in that, and then those are also running alongside like Ford Mustangs, which is kind of a cool mix.
But we've always had the argument, we want to see what these $1 million cars can do.
100%.
Very rarely.
I want to see those things crashed up. I want to see them abused. I want to see them used how they're supposed to be.
And there's a few videos out there of some of the biggest names, some race car drivers driving the Vulcan or the FXXK, P1 GTR. There's a few guys.
Or the Senna. There's a good video.
Senna,
Bruno Senna
but
behind that.
now imagine those drivers not having to worry at all. They crash the car. They go, oh, well, shit. Next week we'll have another one. Let's get to the next race. Being able to go 10/10ths, push those cars to the limit. I think if they put those hypercars in series, those things would be, in the straights and everything, those would be keeping up with P1s or LMP1s, and they would, I think that would be very interesting. So hopefully,
it would also be interesting to see how regulations are applied there, because you're talking about a grid of very different automobiles.
True.
I'm talking front engine naturally aspirated V12 in the Vulcan, twin turbo V8 mid-engine in the Senna.
Those won't be raced. I think the article is saying that the future hypercars, those are going to have.
So we're talking not current models, but something developed potentially for that series.
So that'll be interesting. Hopefully,
I'm interested.
Hopefully that comes to fruition. I've always wanted to see the $2 million cars actually see what they can do.
We'll have to get out to a couple of races.
Not have some owner drive it on like a track, but he's scared and he's only going like you always see like owners with those, they'll go in a straight line really quick and then they get passed in the corner by like a Mazda.
Yeah,
true. I mean, that's I wouldn't.
Once you're out there,
I wouldn't want to crash a $2 million Vulcan either.
Track insurance is very expensive for those cars.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. We've done 45 minutes now.
Sounds like a good place to wrap it up.
It's a good place to wrap it up. So in the future, we're going to do car episodes, you and I. As I talked before, we're going to have life episodes too, which is kind of relax, get some drinks. We'll have some topics to talk about. Maybe, I was thinking if we both, watch documentaries, talk about them, riff about. I guess we can get into. I don't know if we want to get into politics too much.
We'll just keep it to like political
when we get
events.
That's downhill. And I'll have some. In the future, I already have a few people lined up for my kind of in between episodes where I'm gonna have someone talking about what it is they do for this world. And I think that's going to be pretty interesting. This is all just kind of have fun. This is, I've been listening to podcasts for a while, and I was listening to, was it Joe Rogan, and he had someone else on. Joe Rogan's I kind of emulated this off of, but he kind of said just go out there and do it. Mm-hmm. And I had some time now, and I had a little money to buy this equipment. I said, I'm doing it. It'll be a work in progress. Who knows where this is going to go. I think this is just going to be fun for now. But,
certainly a fun time for me.
Yeah. Talk about whatever it is we want to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, just the number of conversations we've had and then have kind of paused and said, would that be interesting if this was recorded? And I think there has been hundreds of hours of gold, baby.
We spend lots of time on Xbox Live yelling about stupid crap, just making each other laugh and just saying stupid shit. And, it'll be fun. Mm-hmm. Maybe we should let's just do Twitch. We're done. Put this away.
Become Twitch streamers.
Out of here. But so that wraps up the first episode, kind of introductory to cars, life, and everything in between.
Check me out at matthewzafe.com. That is my
I
personal
don't-
website. This is my shameless plug.
Yeah, that was shameless plug. All right.
Got to do it, baby.
Cool. There we
Awesome.
go. See you guys.
Thanks for listening.
Boom.